experience in facilitation. He also does a lot of work with students, is what I understand. And one of the things he's going to do today. So we gave him two ideas. We said, would you like to focus on either something to do around customer centricity or communication? And one of the things we discussed, Gavin and I, was can we look at, since we have only 60 minutes, right? Can we look at customer orientation and because it is also customer obsession is one of our DNAs. What does it mean to be in a consulting organization and be obsessed with customers? What kind of behaviors does that mean? What does it mean for us to do when we collaborate internally for the customer? Right, so he's going to talk about some of those elements, familiarize us with it. We have an opportunity to ask a lot of questions also, and and have fun on a Friday morning. So Gavin, thank you again for being here. We've got nearly, I think, 27, 28 of us on the call today. Prasanjit's our CEO and co-founder. And of course, we have people from all the teams. These are client-facing and non-client-facing teams, but everyone, has the customer in mind at the end of the day. So we have the tech team, we have the business teams, we have the product team, all of them who are here today. So we have a mixed and a very enthusiastic crowd. Yeah.
Okay. Gavin, good morning. Welcome, Gavin. This is Vishwanath here.
Good morning,
Vishwanath. Thank you again.
Vijay, I remember. You
Yes.
said Vijay, I do remember. Great to connect with you again.
Thank you, Gavin. Nice to meet you again.
Before we begin, I just noticed Disha had raised her hand. I'm not sure if it's a technical thing or she actually wanted to say something.
Oh, no. We can proceed. Sorry.
Okay. Fair enough. No worries. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Good morning to all of you all. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. And do let me know if you can see it clearly. Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah. Yes, visible. Thank you.
So before we begin, just a couple of requests that if you, I know some of you all are probably busy this morning, but if you could turn on your camera, let's do that, because I'm a little bit of an old school guy, so I like seeing people when we speak. So that's one request that I have. The second is you might see two IDs that I've logged on to. So don't get confused between the two. One's just as a backup in case something happens to the first device. Okay. So just two disclaimers before we begin. So as mentioned by Delrine, we're going to talk about customer centricity today. But before we jump into the topic, I thought I'll just briefly introduce myself, because while I've interacted with some of you before, I haven't really met everyone. So my name is Gavin Rego. I've got a total experience of around 22 years now. And there are three basic verticals that I work on in terms of my work. One, I work as a corporate trainer for behavioral skills and neuro-linguistic programming. So I've been doing that for the last 7 odd years. The second is I work as a coach for individuals. I'm a coach certified on core transformation. And the third is I'm a visiting faculty for some of the educational institutions in Mumbai. So I go to the SVKM group and Xavier Institute of Communications majorly. Other than this, there are a few other colleges as and when the need arises. So that's basically what I do. Prior to becoming a trainer, 2015, and before that, I used to be in HR, and then I've also led teams in customer service. Okay, so that's the background that I have. Last 7 years as a trainer, I've had the pleasure to train in 75 cities in India, and I have trained a little over 17,000 participants so far. So it's been a good journey so far. And I've made some friends over the way during the training sessions also, but no pressure on you. Okay, so just thought I should mention that clearly. One disclaimer that two disclaimers that I like to give is, one, though I have a very anglicized name, I tend to drift into Hindi in between. So if I do, please bear with me. I will try to keep as much as I can in English, but I have the love for Hindi, so I keep going into that in between. So that's number one. The second is I'm not very good at doing serious sessions, so I like using humor. I like making it interactive, so I require your participation too. And the disclaimer is that while I try to use humor, some jokes are good, or at least I think so. But maybe some aren't that great. Okay, so do bear with me if the not so good ones come out today. Okay. So having said that, let's jump right into the session. I have
Gavin, you have competition when in this group when it comes to poor jokes. So
I do.
you know who cracks them soon enough. So
I think I have an idea because there was a smiley which came up on the screen, but let me see. Okay, I'm going to keep an eye for that. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So a couple of session objectives because we have just 60 minutes. I just thought let's keep it down to just two. One is to discuss the importance of customer centricity, and two is to talk about what customer obsession is and how we can use it in our industry. Okay, so just simple two objectives that I have out of this session. Now, before we get into all of this, let's first talk about who actually is a customer. So I'd like to hear some thoughts from you. You can unmute and answer, use the chat box, whatever you feel comfortable. Who do you define as a customer, and especially the ones in our sales teams, if I may? No pressure, huh?
Yeah, I just need to go ahead. I think customers, anyone that who's a potential buyer of what we are selling.
Okay. Vivek, great answer. Thank you. You said customers, anyone who's a potential buyer for what we are selling. Okay. Okay. That's an interesting one. I think I've got something on the chat window. Pragya says someone who gives us business. Great. That's a nice answer too. Okay. Any other thoughts?
Well, when I was growing up, I was told customer का मतलब है जो कष्ट से मर रहा है उसे हम कस्टमर कहते हैं. तो
बहुत बढ़िया. So I got whom Dalrin was referring to. Okay, so thank you. Great answer. जो कष्ट से मर रहा है वो customer हो गया. Okay. Unfortunately, we are talking about it as in a lighter vein, but I sometimes think some businesses are actually giving a lot of cost to the customer. वो सच में मार रहे हैं उनको. Okay, so it's interesting that you mention it. Okay, so to build on what my friends just said, any individual or entity who buys something from a vendor or a seller or a supplier in exchange for money, okay, or something else of value. So for example, sometimes we may say that, okay, we don't get money right away, but there is some value. So I'm getting branding, or I'm getting the hope of future business. All of this is possible. Yeah, so that's how we're defining a customer. Okay. Primarily, if I say this is my customer, then what is customer centricity? How do we then define customer centricity?
Keeping your customer in the middle of building all your processes.
Sunny, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Am I audible?
Yes, now you are.
So it's keeping your customer in the middle of building all your processes, your activity, designing all your activities.
Okay, okay. Keeping your customer in the middle of all the processes. I love that. Okay, great answer. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Vivek, I saw you unmuted.
Yeah, I think when we tend to start to prioritize our customers' need, that is what is customer centricity, where we're not just building anything, but as a priority is the customer's need of the day.
Okay, that's very interesting. Our priority is the customer's need. Okay, thank you, Vivek.
Also being responsive to customers, like sometimes not just because they are asking, but also preempting, they could want. So I think you're truly being responsive to the customer.
Very interesting. That's a very interesting answer where you're saying that we're being responsive to the customer and not always when they ask something from us. Okay, Dalreen, thank you. That's a great answer. And I'm going to come back to that.
I also think in our industry, consulting, the customer looks at you for advice.
Exactly.
right? You are the expert. So I
Yes,
think,
yes.
and it's so easy because for example, we worked with thousands and thousands of managers.
Yes.
And after a point, so many challenges can feel the same.
Yes.
The customer puts to you.
Yes.
How do you still ensure that it's personalized, it's
Yes.
unique for that customer, and you're not just kind of going with the run of the mill or being generic with them? So I think really being able to personalize also for your customer.
Well said. I'm going to come back to the point where you mentioned that the customer does look to us for advice. Okay, so that's a great point. Okay. Sunny's put to me on the chat that understanding your customer first. Okay, thank you, Sunny. That adds perspective.
I think customer centricity is also about the attitude of do whatever it takes for the customer. So attitude
Yes.
demonstrates the centricity part.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you. That's a great perspective. Do whatever it takes for the customer should be the attitude. Okay.
Also, like, can I? Anokhi.
Go ahead, Anaki, go ahead.
Yeah, also combining all these answers together, you put your customers first so that you give them a good experience and you also build that relationship with them, a good relationship with them.
Okay. We build a good relationship with them and we put them first. Thank you, Anaki. That's a great perspective too. Abhilash, you unmuted for quite some time. Go ahead. Sorry, I had to keep you waiting.
No, that's fine. I think when customer centricity is more of a collaboration, where it's not the meat of the core requirement, it's just the top it up with a value add. That's
right.
Customer centricity.
Okay, it's a core requirement. It's
core
not
requirement is that's the
one.
need they have asked you, right?
Okay.
But top it up with a more value add, deliver
Okay.
that, and then
Okay.
top it up with a value add, that customer
So
centricity.
I'm going to combine what you just said with what Delrine mentioned earlier with an example. So all of us who've seen India grow from the 1990s would have experienced something similar. Say in the 1990s, if I had to go to, if I wanted to eat food outside, I would go to a restaurant and then eat it there. Okay, that was the 1990s. After some time, we got to this concept, in the 1990s, maybe not too many places in India had phones easily available. Then we got to a time where we could call up a restaurant and say that, okay, can you keep the order ready? I'll come and pick it up because I don't want to spend too much time there. So now my expectation of service has changed from just being served there that you keep it ready for me. That then changed when home delivery came in. We said, "Acha, ab to khana main to nahi aaunga, aap bhej do." So that happened. We saw that change. From there on, when we came in, we had the introduction of Swiggy and Zomato in our lives. The expectation then became that you give us food. I remember Pizza Hut was the pioneer in saying that we will supply you the pizza in 30 minutes. 30 minutes, you have to free. Okay. So now the expectation changed there in that industry too. So as customers, we started saying, "Acha, abhi khana आधे घंटे में चाहिए या pizza आधे घंटे में चाहिए." Swiggy, Zomato, all of these build those expectations to a stage now where we're saying that khana time pe aana chahiye, within half an hour or whatever time it is, discount milna chahiye, personalized hona chahiye, which means I'll say ki, no spice or no salt or whatever, as well as my core requirement is khana acha hona chahiye. Quality pe compromise nahi chalega, even if you're delivering it to me in half an hour. I still want the best quality. So that's why I like what you said about the core requirement. Okay. I think Sagar had raised his hand. Sagar, yes, go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So I believe customer-centric approach is something to do with care. So customer service should be replaced with customer care. And when you put your emotional touch to it, a heart to it, you immediately put the customer in center. But at the same time, you also don't lead yourself to burnout, because if your glass is empty,
Yes.
you can't serve the customer. So customer centricity is not always about customer. It's about care. It's creating a situation of care for everyone.
Well said. I'm going to come back to that idea of care probably in my third last slide. Okay, so very well said. Thank you. So we've seen, I'm giving you the example of how the restaurant business has changed because it's primarily a service business. Okay. While product was important in the earlier days, now it is service that has replaced that. In a lot of businesses that we see now, product may not be a differentiator, but service will be the differentiator. Take, for example, the car industry. You go to Hyundai and Maruti, you will have more or less the same type of features in the car, but their service and after-sales service may differ based on where you are, in which part of India you are. You know, maybe in some places the former has great service, in some places the latter has. Similarly, you go to a Swiggy and Zomato or a Ola and an Uber, the product or the pricing also, for that matter, more or less is not a differentiator, but the services. So how customer centric they are becomes very, very important. Okay. So building on what we just said, keeping the customer at the heart of all that we do. Yeah, customer centricity. Everything that we do begins with the customer. Understanding their situations, perceptions, and expectations. So what's the situation the customer is facing? What is their perception of the right answer? May not actually be the right answer that they're looking for. As Delrin mentioned earlier, they may look to us for advice, but I still have to acknowledge what is their perception. Okay. And what are their expectations? And then probably shift the conversation to say that, listen, okay, this can be tried out, or this is great. You know, this is our perspective given what we've seen with our clients over the years. Okay. Now, having said this, I have a question for you. Okay. And the question being that, can you think of any one service which you are loyal to? Very loyal to, you'll use it repetitively. Could be very simple, could be very complex, whatever. Something which you would do, say, every month or every week or at regular intervals, you'll use this service from the same person or same service provider. Anything that comes to your mind?
Yeah, I have a cab service that I use regularly for last several years.
Okay, well said. A cab service that you use regularly for the last several years. Amazon, says Sagar. Okay, one of our primary examples of customer service. Okay, Amazon. So Sagar, you pretty much covering my session. Okay, I'm very happy. Okay, we're going to talk about Amazon also. I'm going to refer to that one. Cab service, Amazon. I've got one more. Okay. Prasanjit says he's back. Okay. Cab service, Amazon. Groceries, yes, Anita, well said. Groceries, you typically tend to order from the same person or buy from the same person. Now, what is it that keeps us to these people? What is it that keeps us loyal? What is it that keeps us going back to the same cab service?
Okay, shall I take a go at that? So
Go ahead.
I'm extremely odd in this way, but as long as they're able to deliver what I want, irrelevant of what service it is, number one, I try to give as much as clear information, and this is very mean of me to say, but as long as I don't need to speak to anybody at the other end and get it done with just clear instructions, I'm the happiest person.
Super. So just clear instructions and they deliver what you want or what you expect. Okay, so very well said. Pragya says a particular brand of shampoos. Sandeep says it's reliability. Yes, very well said, reliability. So again, similar to what Anita mentioned. Okay. So you take, for a lot of us, we probably even go back to the same salon to cut our hair. Okay. We'll go to the same guy, especially the men. I know a lot of friends and even myself, we have the habit of going to the same guy. For me, it's even simpler because I don't even have to tell the guy what to do. So that reliability that Sandeep is mentioning comes there even in such a simple business. Okay. Even with groceries, it's a simple business model, but that delivery of expectation is always there. So we're keeping to that. Pragya says the kind of comfort that I get using that service or product. Yes, comfort also and good experience in the past. Yeah. Pankti, thank you. So I'm building my expectation and from what I have in the past, and I'm also experiencing that. Okay, I'm also experiencing that. Super. So some really good answers that you've mentioned in terms of why we repeat that business. Okay. Now, if we take the example of Amazon that Sagar mentioned earlier, probably all of these things. It's a mixture of great pricing, good product, great service, after sales is great. They're asking us for feedback, all of these things. Yeah. Now, in terms of our expectations, what do you expect from this service provider, this grocer, this cab driver? What do you expect at the core work that they do and even apart from the work that they do? Always deliver something extra with a big heart, okay?
So if I personally, if you ask me, just deliver what you're supposed to deliver.
Just
That's
deliver what you're
simple.
supposed to do. Okay.
That's good enough for me. And as long as I don't need to push back and say this has not happened right and
This is
take
not
my
happening.
time. Yeah, as long as that. But yeah, sometimes when there's something apart from that, you do get, it feels very nice, when you
Yes,
do,
yes.
if you, it feels good.
Anita, well said. I just a query. So this grocer probably is in the similar vicinity that you live, right?
Big Basket, all-time favorite. So
Sorry?
I normally go through Big Basket.
Big
So
Basket. Okay, so it's not an individual; it's an entity. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Sagar says at the core respect. Okay. Vivek, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think also apart from the core work that they're delivering, I think personalization plays a very big role. At least individually for me. Like if I give an example, there's a particular guy that I buy the weekly vegetables from. Apart from just giving me good vegetable, he'll tell me this is not good for you, this is not good quality today. So that
Yes.
personalization also makes me feel like when I go to him, I don't even ask him for the price anymore because I feel like he's gonna give me the right thing.
That's a very interesting point that you mentioned, that you don't even ask for the price. You look to him for some kind of suggestions and you will build on that. And that's a great point, that we look for value, not always price. Okay, not always price. In some cases, price may be important. I'm not denying that. But generally, we look for value too. Prasanjit says, blind faith in my hairdresser, previously called the barber. Yes, he does what he wants to. Yes, and it's great that we've given him that license to do that. Okay, we've given him that license, which means to a certain extent, we have that trust. I mean, imagine the guy has a razor on my neck. Yeah, I do trust him with my life in some ways. Okay, so very well said. So if we were to pass by a grocer whom we know, or the hairdresser whom we know, or the cab driver whom we know on the road, and they were walking towards us, what would we expect them to do?
Maybe wave at us,
Maybe wave
smile,
at
give a
us,
gesture.
smile. Yeah, some acknowledgement. Okay, so not part of their core responsibility, but we would expect that. We would say, okay, some kind of a gesture. I may not sit and talk to that person for a long time, but I expect that, okay, I will smile, or he or she will smile back. Yeah, so that kind of expectation is there. Probably if you go to the gym, your gym trainer too, you would say that, okay, that person should wish me in the morning when I walk in, personalized experience. So all that is adding to my expectation as a customer. I'm not saying only the delivery. I'm saying, okay, can we also have some kind of value add apart from the work that I expect? So sometimes we may look like this with our expectations. We have a lot of expectations, yeah. That could be true for some of us. Yeah, we have a lot of expectations. Now, built on this, I'm going to share with you a quick video. Okay, I'm going to share with you a quick video of what Sagar mentioned earlier, Amazon. And this video is way back in 1999. Okay, way back 1999. Let's go through this video and then I'll quickly put you into breakout rooms for a couple of minutes to discuss. Okay, just let me know the sound's clear on this one.
But I believe that if you can
you hear the sound?
Focus obsessively
Yes.
on customer experience, selection, ease of use, low prices, more information to make purchase decisions with. If you can give customers all that, plus great customer service, and with our toys and electronics, we have a 30-day return policy. If you can do all of that, then I think you have a good chance, and that's what we're trying to do.
You're not really a pure internet company anymore either, are you? I mean, you've got millions of square feet now of real estate. You've got a growing, huge and growing inventory of items
We-
that you
we-
keep in
we do
stock.
whatever-
And you've got thousands and thousands of employees now.
Yeah, we have over 3,000 employees and over 4 million square feet of distribution center space. And those are things I'm very, very proud of, because with that distribution center space and half a dozen distribution centers around the country, it allows us to get product close to customers so that we can ship it to customers in a very timely way, which improves customer service levels. That's what we're about. If there's one thing Amazon.com is about, it's obsessive attention to the customer experience, end to end. And that's what those distribution centers
But you're
are
not
for.
a pure internet play.
It doesn't matter to me whether we're a pure internet play. What matters to me is do we provide the best customer service. Internet, schminternet, that doesn't matter.
Well, but it does matter to your investors to know whether they're investing in a company that
No, they should be investing in a company that obsesses over customer experience. In the long term, there's never any misalignment between customer interests and shareholder interests.
Well, that's the same argument that somebody at Walmart would make as well, wouldn't they?
I don't see why not. I think they should make that argument.
So
It's a correct argument.
Okay, so you'll open as many square feet of space, physical space, as you have to, hire as many employees as you have to
service customers, absolutely, and we'll do it as rapidly as we can.
That's a very cost-intense proposition.
Not compared to opening an equivalent network of retail stores. So if you open a bunch of chain stores, look, when we open a distribution center, we're opening places that may have, where we may pay 30 cents a square foot for a lease, instead of paying $7 a square foot, which you might pay in a high traffic retail area. So when you compare those things, they're not the same. You can't compare a big chain of retail stores to half a dozen distribution centers. It's just not, it's bad math.
Okay. Either way, whichever side of the argument you believe, you're making what seems to me to be...
There's only one side, which is obsess over customers.
But it seems to me that both with the speed of your growth in terms of the number of stores online that you're opening, the different businesses you're getting into, the number of distribution centers you're opening and new employees you're hiring, that you are making an intense gamble here, which is twofold. One, that you can run this number of businesses, different businesses, well, and two, that you can make money by selling vast volumes of product at essentially razor-thin profit margins.
I think that the first one in particular I agree with wholeheartedly, which is that there's no guarantee that Amazon.com can be a successful company. What we're trying to do is very complicated. There's huge execution risk involved. We have a terribly complicated business. We're growing, historically very rapidly. We're opening new product categories. We're expanding in new geographies. We have whole new business models with things like auctions. Now, we think this is the less risky of the two approaches because scale is important in this business, and you need scale also to offer the lowest prices and the best customer service to people. So scale is important to us, and we're going to go after that kind of scale. But it does mean that the executional challenges are huge. And so you'll find a bunch of people back in Seattle and around the world working very hard to make sure we service customers at the level that they're used to, and then even improving that.
Isn't it, to some extent, a certain amount of, with all due respect, corporate arrogance to assume that you can come into these businesses, which you have no experience in, and virtually overnight enter a huge variety of different businesses and become the best in those businesses and the market leader in those businesses and execute those well, when there are other companies that have been running these types of businesses for decades, if not more?
I don't think so. So when we first started selling books 4 years ago, everybody said, look, you're just computer guys, you don't know anything about selling books. And that was true, but we really cared about customers, and now we know a lot about books. And when we first started selling music, people said the same thing. But we hired the right people. So we don't do this in a vacuum. We go out and hire the best industry experts in each of these categories. That's the same with toys and electronics. So, we take this very seriously. We take the commitment to the customer very seriously. And we're not about to release something or announce something before it's...
So very interesting that, he talks about this in 1999. And I'm just going to share. So I find YouTube also very interesting because of the comments that are there. Okay. I'm just going to go and highlight to you one comment. If you see this one, it's a sarcastic comment that somebody's put, okay, in a way lighter vein, that this guy isn't going anywhere. No way he's going to beat companies like Barnes and Noble or JC Penney's. Now, if you're wondering, oh, what's JC Penney's or what's Barnes and Noble? Well, that's the answer then. No, that
Yeah,
shows us
they
the
shut down. They're mostly shut down.
that shows us the focus. So that's where we could be at GMI if we get obsessed with customers and not only look at competitors. So I'm just going to say that, okay, but you might say, well, all this is fine, but that's a service that's a product based thing, and we are in the service. Yeah. So how do we incorporate that in our discussion? Okay. So let's talk about that. In the interest of time, I'm not going into breakout rooms at the moment. We can have the discussion here itself. In terms of customer obsession, what we saw just through the video, they have a deep focus on creating a delightful customer experience. They're not saying that just satisfied, they're saying delightful. So खाना अच्छा रहेगा, time पे रहेगा, discount मिलेगा और quality बढ़िया रहेगी. I know one restaurant in Andheri in Mumbai, which also sends a dessert free. So you order from there, you get a sweet free. Okay, so and a lot of people order just for the sweet. Okay, I can't recollect the name, but I remember this place in Andheri East. It's a Punjabi restaurant. I'm not sure why I can't remember the name. So a delightful customer experience, and delightful from the customer's perspective, not my perspective. As a service provider, I may be looking at Gulati, says Sandeep. Okay, thank you, Sandeep. Thanks very much. Okay, so it's from the customer's perspective. So we begin with the customer in mind and then work backwards, saying that, okay, what will it take to delight my customer? And then work backwards from there. Yeah. So let's talk about how we can create this experience for our customers. So I'm going to just go into one role play, and I need 2 volunteers for this. Shouldn't be very tough. The role play is on your screen. We have a customer. So my understanding is that you have roughly your end-to-end time with the customer will be over a few weeks, say maybe 14, 15 weeks for a project or so. Okay, so I'm basing that assumption that a customer has contacted you, you started work with them, and the customer now calls and says that they are unhappy and they're upset with the training or a coaching session in the middle of the project. The trainer or the coach is one of your best. Okay, so how do you handle that? So maybe the customer can be played by someone in the sales or the customer service team, because you know the anger the best. Okay, and anyone else to volunteer to play the GMI employee?
I can volunteer to play the customer.
Prasanjit, sorry?
I can volunteer to play the customer role.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
play.
Super. So I need 1 volunteer for the GMI employee. No pressure, okay? It's just the CEO and you're on record. No, I'm sure he realizes, and all of us know that it's a role play. So don't worry, go ahead. Let's just learn. Anyone who wants to just play the GMI employee.
I can do that, but I'm from the sales team. Do you require somebody apart from the sales team?
Yeah, but in the absence of any other volunteer, let's go ahead.
If anyone else wants to, they can go ahead. Otherwise,
okay, we'll wait for 20 seconds. Anyone else who volunteers? Okay. In some of the old Hindi movies, they would have said "Sher ke pinjre mein koi jana chahta hai kya," or something like that. I'm not sure. Bollywood is very creative in those matters. Okay, Vivek, I think we'll go. Let's do that. Thanks, Vivek, for volunteering. So let's begin. So, Prasanjit, you've called him, and let's get right into it.
Vivek, this is Prasanjit, and
Hi, Prasanjit. How are you?
I'm good, Vivek. But Vivek, we had this workshop with Dr. Deepika Dapke, and then for the follow-up session, suddenly I find that Dr. Vishwanath Joshi has turned up, and how do you expect consistency if the facilitator for the workshop was somebody else, and now somebody else is coming for the follow-up session? Why is this happening, Vivek?
Thanks a lot, Prasanjit, for highlighting that. So actually, the thing is, firstly, both Dr. Deepika Dapke and Vishwanath Joshi are our lead facilitators, and they're the lead content creators for GMI. So all content that is being delivered to you, they've actually created, like co-created it. So they're both very well aware of the focus areas that are there. Another thing is, actually, Dr.
Hey,
Deepika
Vivek, I
Dapke.
think you are just defending yourself. I
No,
know
not at
that
all.
we spent hours together with Dr. Deepika Dapke explaining the context, everything, and we have full confidence in her, and she understood it also well. Dr. Joshi, last time when he did a workshop, he didn't even complete the action planning part of the workshop. I have nothing against him. He's very, very knowledgeable. But the Deepika understands our context better. If you, had you told us before, maybe we would have changed the date.
Right. So, thanks, Prasanjit. I think that's a great point. But the thing is, what we actually do after every session, right? We take a feedback from the managers as well. So our actual entire focus of doing any session is to ensure that impact, which I can definitely promise you that it will not be different for Dr. Deepika Dapke and Vishwanath Joshi. But having said that, if you feel that there's been a better alignment with Dr. Deepika, right, let this session with VJ happen. Let us also get the feedback from the managers. We can also look at what has been the outcome from the entire action planning perspective, how many action plans were uploaded, were people able to understand the whole gist of it. If it is required, we can do an additional session with Dr. Deepika Dapke to ensure that there is complete alignment. So whatever happens now will be something above and extra that we are doing for you, but we'll ensure that you suffer no loss at all in terms of any alignment with any facilitator or anything that is delivered from our end.
Okay. With your permission, Gavin, can we do a role reversal? Can Vivek be the irate customer, and can I be GMI?
Surely, I was going to ask for observations, but yes, we can do it through this.
And then we can process
okay.
it, because
Okay.
it's good fun to play
Sure.
both the roles.
Okay, let's do that. Let's begin.
Vivek, hey, hi Vivek, good to hear from you. Long time. How are
Hi,
you?
Prasanjit. I'm doing well, Prasanjit. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well, Vivek. My apologies, I haven't been in touch with you for some time, but I hope the project is going on well. Any
Yes, so I actually wanted to speak to you about this, Prasanjit. Overall, the project is going fine, but we're facing a lot of backlash from our management because we have to kind of present like a weekly update to them about what's happening. And what's happened is Dr. Deepika Dapke is somebody who delivered all our workshops earlier. And we had great rapport with her, and there was complete alignment. She, in fact, also worked with the focus area development with us. But now I think there's a change in facilitator that has happened. Also, I think this also affects the managers to have like a sync of things, right? They're already used to one phase, one person that they're doing with. So I think I'm not able to understand why has there been a change, and we've not been informed about this. It's because of which we actually have to give a lot of answers to the management also now. So I'm not
I
sure how do
understand.
we kind of tackle through this.
I understand. Vivek, what I hear you saying is that Dr. Deepika Dapke was doing the workshops, and she was already, I'm assuming, familiar with your context. And now, subsequent to that, for follow-up session, we got Dr. Vishwanath Joshi to come. And more importantly, this was not something we discussed with you, and therefore your personal position in front of management got, according to you, it got compromised, and it was, I'm assuming it was embarrassing for you and some of your colleagues. And have I understood what you were saying,
That's
Vivek?
correct. That's correct, Prasenjit. And I'm sure both your facilitators are great at what they do. It's only that the thing that our managers now have with Dr. Deepika Daske already, I think that flow is be getting broken, and the biggest challenge is we've not been informed about it in prior.
No, absolutely. I think what you were saying is something which is absolutely valid. If you have not been informed, I think it has been a miss from our end. Would having said that, one of the things that we have figured out internally, and this is absolutely no justification of for not informing you, which is the core issue that you are raising right now, but just so that you also understand, what we found is that when we are able to get one more facilitator to also interact with the same group, we actually have 1.5x kind of ideas which come out, because the facilitators have multiple experiences, different perspectives, and therefore the quality of the discussion and what they can do actually improves. While that is logically, obviously will make sense to you and to me, what can we do about the core issue, which was that you were not informed, and as a result, you are now in a difficult situation with your management. What do you suggest we can do about it, Vivek? Okay, I think this is a good enough time within the time that we have as an illustration, but I think you can give feedback. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, quick from the ones who are observing, quick observations that you had from the two different situations. Pragya, go ahead. You raised your hand.
Yeah. So I think the biggest observation was how Prasenjit actually tried to, paraphrase what Vivek was saying.
Exactly.
And actually, clarify that have I understood it correctly? And then he went on to, offer suggestions for the problem that Vivek was facing. On the other hand, if we look at Vivek, trying to justify what has happened to Prasenjit, he was more in a defensive kind of a position. Not judging you for that, Vivek. Just
yeah, all of us could be in the same position as Vivek. I mean, it's just that he's in the spotlight today. You're right, Pragya. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so it was more of defensive. So
yeah. I think what happens to, just to build on what you mentioned, what happens to us is that humanly, the human nature is that we get slight bit defensive, say that we are on the back foot. Okay. And the moment we go on the back foot, we try to justify. So there's, I'm not classifying it into good or bad, but I'm going back to what one of my friends said earlier, the one who mentioned Amazon. He said at the start, customer care. Sorry, I missed the name now. This is, and I'm trying to see on the screen, but I can't. Sagar said. He said care, I think. The moment I tell the customer by paraphrasing that, listen, I understand you, it also passes the message that I care. I'm showing empathy to a large extent. So very well said, Pragya. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else has a different observation?
I think
we have time for one more.
What Prasenjit did in his role as a service provider was to ask than tell. And I think that was a big change from what we saw Vivek doing. Vivek was telling the customer, but Prasenjit preferred to ask the customer, what can we do? And the chances are that customer may not ask for additional free session, could be something else.
Yes.
That was, I thought, a better approach.
Yes. Well said. Thank you, Vijay. So you said that ask instead of tell. That's a great perspective. So building on what you both said, I think the first thing that he did was he kind of offered an apology. So just to calm down the tempers a little bit, I think that works really well. Okay. So there's an inconvenience caused to my customer. I'm not getting into who's right or wrong at this point of time. We're saying that, okay, we're sorry for the inconvenience caused. We're then demonstrating that we're empathetic, we care. And from there on, we're saying what we will do to solve it and how what we actually did could be beneficial also by getting two facilitators on board. So it was a great role play. Thank you both for participating so well. Yeah, Vivek, more power to you. Okay.
I think I'm impressed
Good.
with Vivek because unlike sort of self-exhibitionist like me, it takes a lot of confidence to jump in
Yes.
and into a role play in front of others. So Vivek, very, very impressive.
Thank you.
Yes, well said, well said. Much appreciated, Vivek. Okay, so quickly building on what we discussed, we spoke about listening well, we spoke about empathizing, we spoke about acknowledging the inconvenience caused to them, taking responsibility for the solution, which we saw in the role play. If there is a need for further clarification on something which we've not understood, it's a great idea to ask questions. Sometimes we hesitate from asking questions because we are on the back foot. And I think it's great to ask questions to get absolute clarity, mention what we're going to do further, reassure. And over the period of time, I think staying connected, you want to stay connected with the customer, saying that, okay, how are things going on now? Especially when you know that things are going on fine. Even then, reaching out and saying that, okay, how are things going on now? Yeah, what's really happening? You want to kind of do that. And I think that's a really good way to do it.
If I can just add here, this is Dal. This stay connected piece makes such a difference. And this is really also when you create a relationship with the customer in such a way that when there is a situation where they're upset about something, they're always willing to listen, right? If you have no relationship with the customer, then both of you are on you're on the back foot. Because you're trying to then explain, etc. But when you have a relationship, you're both operating from care for each other and trying to go win-win. We've had so many situations, right? Somebody's just to kind of extend the scenario, which is very real, Gavin, that you put here, right? It happens all the time. We had one facilitator before, now someone else. One facilitator's date is booked. We've double booked it. It happens all the time, the time. And it's only because you've nurtured that relationship, you can actually go and say, hey, you know what, this time we goofed up. We're sorry. We will fix it, right? And trust us.
Yes.
But I think everything to do with customer obsession cannot come if you do not first invest deeply in building a relationship with your customer.
Yes. Thank you for that perspective. So I'm going to link that back to what we discussed at the start. See, even when we said whether it's a grocer or a hairdresser, when we pass by them, we expect them to acknowledge us. That's also a way of staying connected in a very, very small manner. I'm oversimplifying it, but it's still important. And when we expect it at that level, can we imagine what the customer whom we have expects from us? Because we are in the space of learning and development, and we are in the space of solving their problems. Yeah. So from that point, let's talk about a few things that we can do to be customer obsessed. I think one of the things which we saw even through this role play is be empathetic. Being empathetic does not mean that I have to agree to everything my customer says, but I see their point of view. I may not agree, but I need not say it at that point of time that, listen, I don't agree. Let me just first listen. Let me listen well, and let me empathize with them. The second is being respectful all the time. Whether we like a customer, we don't like a customer, all of the time we want to be respectful. We want to show them that respect. The third, which Dalrine beautifully brought out, was the aspect of communicating frequently and honestly, which means if we drop the ball, we say we've dropped the ball. Yeah, and we saw that in the role plays. And okay, sorry, there's an inconvenience caused to you. Let's be honest with the customer, because as we saw in that video of Amazon, in the long run, it's going to pay off. It is going to pay off. And let's face it, as a business, we got to look at the long run. We can't just say 6 months down the line. Yeah. So communicate frequently, communicate honestly, because without honesty, then that communication just becomes a tick mark exercise. I think we also want to look at building customer centricity as a culture. which means that it's not only the pressure on my sales team. Maybe I am in the accounts team. Maybe I never see the customer. But what can I do from the customer's perspective? Do I think, how does the customer think? What is my role? What are the 2 cents that I could add? Because even that is important. How can I smoothen the process of invoicing or billing? Or say I'm in the content creation team. What can I do better? Yeah, what can I do better to serve the customer better? So one thing which we all see from Amazon is minimal effort. As the customer, your effort is minimal. You don't like a product, you can just send it back. In our line of work also, what can we do to have the customer interaction be so smoothless that the customer doesn't feel that, oh, it's an effort to get these guys to contact. Yeah, that if they keep feeling that it's an effort, we're likely to lose customers. So we don't want to have that happen. For any product that we see as a business, distribution becomes very important. See, Amazon's done that. You look at other companies, Relaxo as a shoe brand has done that over time. Asian Paints as a paint brand has done that over time. Distribution is great. The wait times are shorter for the end customer. I think we need to do that in the service industry too. If the customer wants a training, how soon are we able to deliver that? Okay, because if we're not able to go back as soon as the customer is expecting or within those time frames, again, chances are that they could look elsewhere. So we want to reduce wait times. What are we doing to reduce wait times? Okay, and primarily also analyzing data all the time, because all great businesses are built with data, and data helps us to be obsessed with customers. Without data, it's practically impossible to be obsessed with customers. Through data, we'll come to know the likes of our customers, the dislikes. So our CSAT surveys, the feedbacks that we collect after every training or coaching, very important to analyze these. So we want to keep doing that. Okay, so I guess I'm very close to my time. So I'm quickly going to jump into the summary. Any one thing that you remember from the discussion, you can just share. Help me summarize. I just need the main ideas. What did we speak about today? Anyone? You're reminding me of A.K. Hangal, who said, "Itna sannata kyun hai bhai?" Okay, there's a message on the chat. Care, Vijay, thank you. Care, okay. Yes, we spoke about care. Any other thoughts? Any one point, whatever you remember. And don't worry about right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. Okay. Empathize with customers. Liz says delightful customer experience. Extending empathy, says Shruti. Thank you. Anita says being mindful of the customer. Yes, okay. Pankti, thank you for that answer. Pragya says be respectful. Okay, great. Thank you all for your answers. So we spoke about who is a customer, why is customer centricity service important in today's day and age, what really is customer centricity. Then we moved on and saw the video from Amazon, and we've seen how great this business has been built. We talked about customer obsession. We did that through a role play. We saw learnings through the role play, and we said, how can we in our industry be customer obsessed? Okay, so these are the various things that we've discussed so far. Before we close, anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask, any doubts, or as Mitunda says, koi shak? Anything at all?
Hey, since you put Mitunda's picture, I have to ask a question.
Sure.
So my question, Gavin, is this is all easy to talk about.
Yes.
How does one learn how to do it? Because I guess the difference comes from doing, not knowing.
Yes.
How does one do it?
Sorry, go ahead. I thought you...
No, I was saying, how does one do it? How does one learn to do it?
I think the doing comes from smaller steps, saying that, okay, now today we start with the data that we have. If we've already collected customer feedback, we start looking at what went good, what didn't work with the customers. That's one aspect. We start with having conversations with the customers in the start. What do they expect from us? We have a team which is experienced. We also need to start discussing that, okay, what does my end customer want? Yeah, because that's where I'm going to work backwards. Say, for example, my end customer wants a training session delivered in one day and wants, say, 4 topics covered. Now, is that feasible? Is the learning going to happen? How do I then say that? Say, for example, they're saying communication, but in communication, they want effective communication, listening, assertiveness, as well as a little bit of email etiquette. So
In
can I
your
do that in
experience,
one?
is there any good book that you would like to recommend, Gavin, on this?
No, I wouldn't recommend a book because, as you rightly mentioned, I think it comes by doing. Because then when we do, we'll then say that, okay, oh, this works in my industry, this doesn't work. Or maybe we'll take a conscious call saying that, listen, the customer wants 4 things, but as a company, I'm saying no, 2 is great. Again, going back to the point that Delrine mentioned at the start, I also need to guide my customer at times. Okay, great question. Thank you. I think I've got one on chat. Let me quickly, no, Prasanjit says he's back. Okay. Anita, you had unmuted. Any question that you had?
Yeah, not a
Go
question,
ahead.
but we go through this dilemma pretty often. You have some very nice customers. So one odd situation where they say, "Can this be done?" You will take
Yes.
that extra mile and you say, "Okay, these guys have been really great. They've been on." But many times you'll get these ones who are from the beginning, they hit you at a bottleneck for whatever reason, because that's their style of working, and we need
Right.
to make sure we bring them back, support them. So then that patience level at some stage, you go and say, "Okay, fine. Now what do I do? This is again and again. How do I prep for these? How do I think in their, think, over communicate? Yes, that's something, but this is a challenge we face, and then we see this, especially with over demanding customers, which is good. It makes us think, but then that, if you've got to push that extra mile with every step, that becomes, how do we overcome that?
I think there are 2 perspectives to this. Number one is what helped me is that realizing over time that when a customer is tough with me, he's not really tough with me personally. He's tough with whatever I'm delivering. So maybe as an organization, what I'm delivering. So that helps to. Otherwise, sometimes I think we either put a halo or we demonize the customer. So either which one. So that one perspective. The second is saying that, okay, can I look at things from that customer's perspective? What does he or she want? That helps me, because very often we have our perspective and we're looking at the situation from our perspective. So if I say my worst customer, how do I look at it from his perspective? Okay. So the role play that we did, customer is upset. Now, if I look at it from his perspective, what does he want first? An apology. Okay. The moment I give that, there's a little, so I can just say, okay, I apologize for the inconvenience caused. I'm not really saying that we were wrong, but yes, there has been an inconvenience caused to you, and I apologize for that. So putting ourselves in their shoes, I think will help. And yes, it is easier said than done, and yes, it needs practice. Yeah, so it's over time.
Yeah. I'm if I can just very quickly come in and make a few very quick comments.
Sure.
I think first and foremost, I think it is a mindset. Are we considering ourselves as a partner, vendor, supplier to the customer? I think the right mindset is, according to me, I'm the owner's son or daughter, and I'm only doing something which I think is going to sustain this business in future, right? And in the process, if Abhilash has been there for 30 years, loyal to my papa, etc., I have to treat him with a little bit of respect, etc. I have to do all of that, but I'm never. I think that mindset that we are a supplier is very, very limiting kind of mindset, right? I know we have busted our time, so I think, how do you position yourself? Do you think you are here because you actually own this damn company, or you are going to inherit this damn company, or are you here because there is a billing of 30 lakhs that you have to deliver? And both of these people are very different people. You can make out who has what ownership. In the process, sometimes we might make some middle level person in the client unhappy. It is better to make that person unhappy if we can't help it. If we are very, very smart, we will know how not to make him unhappy. But it is better to make that person unhappy rather than keep quiet. And I'm just going to give you 5 quick tips. And the acronym is brand. What that essentially means is, you are a brand. When you are in professional services, you are going to the client, and the client will have an opinion about you. Oh, Dalreen, she always gives me a new perspective on people management. I don't know what that brand Dalreen stands for, or maybe it stands for when she gives a commitment, it will be done. So what is your brand? That is the word B. R is, as a professional, how are you reinventing yourself? Every night, and there are only 2 ways of reinventing yourself. If Abhilash is an expert on database, and then the one way is to say that I'm going so bloody deep into this database that I can any client of mine, I will know more than that client. Or the second way of reinventing yourself is to go into a slightly adjacent space. If I am an expert on engagement, Prasenjit will now go to an adjacent space called DEI. And I'm going to reinvent myself in the next 2-3 years and also become a DEI expert, right? That is reinventment. A is, are you passive or you are active? Passive is someone, what do I do? My client project manager did not do. I mean, we have a client whose HR head has not been helping us with a anchor client 5-year value proposition. So we decided we'll meet the marketing or business head. And we organize a meeting. Now we are going to go and do some immersion activities. Now the HR head is saying, why don't Dalreen meet so-and-so? We have to plan. If you have the technology, let us. I mean, she's saying it. But the point is, you are active. You are not passive.
Yes.
Right. The N stands for, am I networking with the right people? Because how I spend my time and a lot of my learning comes from people like Gavin and others. So if I invite the right people, if I network, and I have a slot on every alternate Saturday evening, it's called Meet Interesting People. I have no clue who will come into that slot, but somebody from whom I can learn from, right? And D is daily habit. Do I do my daily yoga, my daily quota of sleep? Do I eat properly every day? Right. So I'm just urging you to remember that you are a brand.
Yes.
Sorry, I took this opportunity to digress as usual. But
no problem. Thank you very much. So I'm going to take the opportunity to say thank you very much to all of you all for your nice, kind messages that you put on the chat. Thank you very much for your time. You've given me 60 minutes of your life, 60 minutes which will never come back. I'm going to ask for another 5 more minutes. There's a small link that I've sent you in the chat window for feedback. If you could just share your feedback, it will help me improve on my self also, of what you liked, what you didn't like, what could have been better, all of that. And I look forward to seeing you all soon, sometime, someday. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thanks a lot, Gavin. It was a great session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gavin.
Thank you, Gavin, for
Thank
this
you.
amazing
Thanks,
session.
Gavin.
Thank you so much.
Be back with you
Bye.
by end of day, yeah?
Sure, sure.
Okay, thanks. Have a good day.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye. Liz, I'll call you.